I'm going to read a passage from Black Power to Hip Hop by Patricia Hill Collins, and it is going to dovetail into a bigger discussion. Okay, some Black women manage to avoid the selfless toil on behalf of the Black community that refuses to acknowledge Black women's ability to make a difference. Sounding like a contemporary Fannie Lou Hamer, the self-defined hip-hop feminist Joan Morgan puts forth a contemporary version of a humanist vision that has long characterized Black feminism. Responding to queries about her commitment to Black feminism, Morgan says, "Since my sexual preference could not be of any relevance to you, what you really want to know is how I feel about brothers. It's simple. I love Black men like I love no other. And I'm not talking about sex or aesthetics. I'm talking about loving y'all enough to be down for the drama, stomping anything that threatens your existence. Now, only a fool loves that hard without asking the same in return. So yeah, I demand that Black men fight sexism with the same passion they battle racism. I want you to annihilate anything that endangers sisters' welfare, including violence against women, because my survival walks hand in hand with yours." Morgan strikes a hard bargain. The much touted gender complementarity in Black communities is possible only if Black men fight sexism with the same passion that they battle racism. Morgan is not alone in her criticism of these gendered norms within African American communities, because Black women in the hip hop generation are uniquely positioned to see the contradictions of a Black nationalism that relies so heavily on African American women's labor, yet refuses to fight sexism. They challenge any norms of Black solidarity that are predicated on their subordination. So this quote led me to look into this woman because I am interested in seeing how feminism has developed its own brand throughout the generations, because so many people are intent on making feminism a white woman thing when they do not understand that feminism in the Black community has happened because of oppression and things that have happened within the community. So I looked into it. She has an essay and that I want to get into, and that will be in part 2. Stay tuned. I was born in 1980, so I had the opportunity to see hip hop when it was just fun, when it was some dance music, when it was just like a party. But I also, in my teenage years, had the opportunity to watch as it got to the point where it was just basically degrading. And as a teenager, it didn't hit the same as it does as a middle-aged woman. It just didn't hit the same. I wasn't in the same mindset because I was a teenager. And like when C. Dolores Tucker was in her campaign to get it pulled for the misogyny and the degradation of Black women, it just didn't hit. Her protestations didn't hit the same. But I want to talk about this essay, Home to Roost, hip-hop feminist Joan Morgan on hip-hop's misogyny. I want to talk about this. Okay, so let's get into this article. So the first section is titled "Hip-Hop and Feminism Are Not at War." And this is a passage from Joan Morgan, "When Chickenheads Come Home to Roost." She says, "Sometime in the late 1980s, hip-hop began to take a turn from which it has never returned. This turn has been both lamented and defended thousands of times in thousands of ways, but even the most strident critics couldn't stop it, and even the most ardent supporters couldn't justify it. And the turn was this: all of a sudden, an entire form seemed to decide it hated women." A random sampling through the years. And some of these quotes are so atrocious, I can't even say them, so you can read these. "Do like Ice Cube, slam her butt in a ditch, because a B is a B." Ice Cube, 1987. "Are you the type who won't put a HO in front of a..." Okay, yeah, this quote from DMX is terrible. And this quote from Eminem is also terrible, and I will not be reading them. But you can read them if you want. It wasn't always this way. For young rappers, it might seem inconceivable that there was once a world in which LL Cool J could rap, "I Need Love," and still be taken seriously. Of course, LL was not without his share of questionable lyrics in his Dear Yvette. It is essentially a tamer version of the exact song that called this piece into being, which we deal with below. And though it has become cliche to bemoan rap lyrics, it's even hard to write this without feeling like pearl clutching scold. But why do they have to use such bad language? As an adult, when I hear the language of yesteryear that I used to listen to as a teenager, my ears hurt. But I will continue to examine this in part two. Okay, I'm continuing the chat about Joan Morgan and her hip hop feminism and her take. Morgan did more than listen to hip hop. As a journalist working for Vibe and The Source, among other outlets in the 80s and 90s, she helped shape the genre's growth and refused to ignore its descent into misogyny. In 1999, she wrote When Chickenheads Come Home to Roost, a hip-hop feminist breaks it down, which remains among the most passionate, intimate and enlightening explorations of misogyny and hip-hop ever written. In the book, Morgan coined the term hip-hop feminism, spawning an entire field of study, wrote about Black Girl Magic long before Kashawn Johnson created the Twitter hashtag that launched a digital movement. But most importantly, she began to create a language and space to speak about hip-hop's trouble with women. In the beginning, I didn't feel alienated by the misogyny because there was less of it, Morgan says. NWA marked a real shift. They're not the first, but they were so incredibly commercially successful that they put gangster rap in the West Coast on the map. I felt like it was attempting to push me out of a space I had not only a right to be, but that I helped create. Black women were hip-hop's sacrificial lambs. It was okay to make us targets for commercial gain. Section 2. I demand that Black men fight sexism with the same passion they battle racism. Morgan is right. NWA didn't invent misogyny in rap music. You can read these titles for yourself. But it was Ice Cube who ultimately led me to her book, and it was her journalism on Cube that I found most illuminating. Though I was only 6 years old when Straight Outta Compton came out and wasn't allowed to listen to songs like FTP and A B is a B, I remember the way hip hop and gangster rap in particular was greeted when it burst onto the world stage. I remember the night in 1990 when Two Live Crew performed at a club called Pickles, 8 blocks from my house in Hollywood, Florida. But then when I was driving with my music on shuffle, when Ice Cube's Giving Up the Nappy Dugout came on, it's a deep cut from the classic album Death Certificate, released in 1999. Maybe it was the unexpected nature of the shuffle that made me hear the song differently, or maybe it was the strange ratio of greatness. The song is undeniable to cruelty. The lyrics are hard to stomach. I will not be reading what's circled here in pink. You can read it for yourself. But there is no getting around the dehumanizing nature of these lyrics. And this is the music that was pumped into people my age. And it's no wonder that the culture and the community is where it is right now.